Top 10 unsolved serial killer mysteries. Who are they? Serial killers are some of the most terrifying individuals on the planet. They commit horrific crimes, leaving a trail of victims behind them. Despite the best efforts of law enforcement, some of these killers have managed to elude capture, leaving their identities a mystery. In this video, we'll be looking at the top 10 unsolved serial killer mysteries. Welcome to our video on the top 10 unsolved serial killer mysteries. Before we dive in, I want to warn viewers that some of the details in this video may be disturbing to some. Viewer discretion is advised. Number 10 on our list is the Long Island serial killer. Somewhere between 10 and 17 murders can be attributed to the Long Island killer, and since he may or may not still be operating, he's one of the most recent serial killers in America to remain at large. Authorities know very little about the suspect, speculating that he is likely a white male in his mid-20s to 40s, with extensive knowledge of law enforcement operations and techniques, which would explain how he successfully avoided capture. Though the Long Island killer has killed at least a dozen people, police were unaware that so many of the prior disappearances and murders were linked until the 2010 disappearance of Shannan Gilbert. While searching in the area where she likely disappeared, police came across not just her body, but also 10 more victims buried under the sand on Long Island's Gilgo Beach. Police questioned several suspects, including former Suffolk County Police Chief James Burke, but no one was ever tried, and the case remains unsolved. Number 9 on our list is the AXEMAN of New Orleans. The AXEMAN of New Orleans operated in the city in 1918 and 1919, killing at least 6 people. The killer would break into homes and attack victims with an axe, leaving no discernible pattern to their crimes. The killer sent a letter to a newspaper claiming to be a demon and stating that they would spare the lives of anyone playing jazz music in their homes. The identity of the Axeman has never been definitively determined, although several suspects have been named over the years. Number 8 on our list is the Zodiac Killer. The Zodiac Killer terrorized residents of the Bay Area in California for most of 1969, killing at least 5 people and possibly more. He began his killing spree in December 1968, shooting a couple in their car on a lover's lane. Over the next 10 months, he committed several more murders, including shooting a couple in a public park, stabbing a man and a woman near a peaceful lake, and shooting a cab driver in the head. What made this case particularly intriguing was the Zodiac's communication with the police and the media. He called in some of the murders and sent encrypted letters to newspapers using a cross within a circle as his symbol. He even mailed in a piece of bloodied shirt to prove his identity and threatened to attack a school bus full of children. Despite several suspects being considered and questioned, the killer was never caught. The Zodiac Killer's story continues to capture the public's attention to this day. His taunts and encrypted messages have inspired countless books, articles, and even a movie. The case remains unsolved, and the identity of the killer remains a mystery. Number 7 on our list is the Oakland County Child Killer. The Oakland County Child Killer, also known as the Babysitter Killer, is an unidentified serial killer who murdered at least 4 children in Oakland County, Michigan, between 1976 and 1977. The killer's macabre alias comes from the fact that he bathed each child before committing the crimes, which led FBI profilers to posit that the killer had some form of twisted parental instinct. The killer's choice to target children gripped parents throughout Michigan and spawned dozens of neighborhood watch initiatives. Despite a few promising leads, including the discovery of a vehicle suspected to belong to the killer, the case remains open and unsolved. The most recent development was in 2012 when investigators managed to create a DNA profile of the killer, but it didn't match anyone arrested in conjunction with the case, or anyone in the police system for that matter. But perhaps the most disturbing part, aside from the fact that the killer is still at large, is the extent of his abductions. All 4 children were held for anywhere from 4 to 19 days before being bathed and killed. Number 6 on our list is the Highway of Tears Killers. The Highway of Tears is a stretch of highway in British Columbia, Canada, where dozens of Indigenous women and girls have gone missing or have been murdered since the 1960s. The case of the Highway of Tears Killers refers to the unsolved mystery surrounding the perpetrators responsible for these crimes. Many of the victims were hitchhiking along the highway when they disappeared, leading authorities to suspect that the killers may be a truck driver or someone who frequents the area. The majority of the victims were Indigenous, and their families have criticized law enforcement for not doing enough to investigate the cases. Over the years, Several suspects have been considered and questioned, but no one has been charged in connection with the murders. The Highway of Tears case remains a painful reminder of the ongoing violence and discrimination faced by Indigenous women and girls in Canada and the need for greater efforts to address this issue. Number 5 on our list is the GLICO-MORINAGA case. In 1984, a group calling themselves the Monster with 21 Faces targeted two Japanese companies, Ezaki GLICO and Morinaga. They abducted GLICO's CEO and demanded a ransom of 1 billion yen and 100 kilograms of gold bars. After 3 days, the CEO escaped, but the group continued to harass the company with threatening letters. The letters claimed that their candies were laced with poison and forced GLICO to pull their products from the shelves, causing a significant financial loss. The group also targeted other food companies, demanding ransom money. One investigator saw a prime suspect known as the Fox-Eyed Man, but he managed to evade them twice. The group continued to taunt the police and the investigators. A year later, a police superintendent committed suicide, ashamed of his failure to capture the Fox-Eyed Man. 5 days following his death, the group sent its final letter to the media and claimed that they would stop harassing food companies. The case remains unsolved, and the true identity of the Monster with 21 Faces and the Fox-Eyed Man is still unknown. Number 4 on our list is the TYLENOL poisonings. In 1982, a series of mysterious deaths occurred in the Chicago area, in which 7 people died after taking extra-strength TYLENOL pills laced with cyanide. The first victim, Adam Janus, took TYLENOL for his chest pain and died an hour later. His brother and sister-in-law, who took the same pills, also died. A 12-year-old girl who took TYLENOL for her cold also died. The news spread like wildfire, causing widespread panic and hysteria. Police warnings blared over loudspeakers and the drug was removed from shelves. Copycat incidents like pins and needles found in candy bars added to the fear, leading several communities to ban Halloween trick-or-treating. An extortionist was arrested for trying to extort Johnson & Johnson for $100,000, although he was never charged with the murders. Tamper-proof seals were introduced as a safety measure, and other companies followed suit. This case was a defining moment in the history of public health, as it led to new safety measures and regulations to protect consumers from product tampering. Number 3 on our list is the Servant Girl Annihilator. The Servant Girl Annihilator was a notorious serial killer who terrorized Austin, Texas between December 1884 and December 1885. He murdered 7 women and 1 man, all domestic staff, either while they slept or outside their homes after dragging them out of their beds. He gained the moniker of the Austin Axe Murderer after he killed 3 victims with an axe on December 24, 1885. Police records of the case are limited due to its antiquity, but the New York Times reported in December 1885 that more than 400 people had been arrested in connection with the murders. There have been speculations that the Servant Girl Annihilator may have been Jack the Ripper, who caused panic in London 3 years later in 1888. However, evidence suggests that the real killer was likely a local man named Nathan Elgin, who had only 4 toes on 1 foot, a detail that matched footprints found at most of the crime scenes. Elgin was killed by police officer John Bracken in 1886 after Bracken responded to a report of a girl being dragged from a saloon by a man who was beating her. The girl's name was Julia. Thankfully, given that the crimes occurred over a century ago, the Servant Girl Annihilator is certainly no longer at large. Number 2 on our list is the Black Dahlia case. One of Hollywood's most famous murder cases happened in 1947 when a young actress named Elizabeth Short was found dead in Los Angeles. She had been cut in half and had 3-inch cuts on the corners of her mouth. The police and the media tried to find the killer by giving clues to the public. Many people were suspected, but nobody was ever charged. Elizabeth Short's life was a mystery, and her murder has been the subject of many movies, TV shows and books. One book even claimed that the author's own father was the killer, but he was never charged. And finally, number 1 on our list is perhaps the most famous unsolved serial killer mystery of all time, the case of the disembodied feet. The case of the disembodied feet refers to a mystery involving human feet that have been found washed up on the shores of British Columbia, Canada and Washington State, USA since 2007. These feet were discovered in running shoes, boots or hiking shoes and were often found by people walking along the beach. What makes the case particularly strange is that the feet were not accompanied by any other body parts, and in most cases it was impossible to identify who they belonged to. Despite extensive investigation by authorities, no one knows for sure where the feet came from or how they ended up in the water. Various theories have been proposed to explain the case, ranging from accidents at sea to foul play and serial killers. However, without more information, it is difficult to say for sure what caused this unusual phenomenon. And there you have it, the top 10 unsolved serial killer mysteries. These cases continue to fascinate and intrigue us, and we can only hope that one day the identities of these killers will be brought to light. Thank you for watching, and please be sure to subscribe for more videos like this.